So I thank you very much, Ms. Bondo, for being willing to come and share with us this afternoon and for outlining the Prime Minister's policies. I was in Japan the week before last and had accompanied the Japanese American Leadership delegation, and this is a group that has been going to Japan for the past 14 years. And I must say that in each of the meetings that we had at the government, the business, and the civil society level, that this topic was one of the primary areas of conversation, including the meeting that we had with the Prime Minister himself. And so I think certainly in terms of our U.S.-Japan relationship that we see that this is a very important time. And I'm extremely pleased that Ms. Wendy Cutler, who is the acting Deputy U.S. Trade Representative, is here with us this afternoon. She's going to talk about why she feels that the empowerment of women in Japan is important to our U.S.-Japan relationship. Ms. Cutler.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me here today. I'm really thrilled to be invited to a U.S. Japan conference when I'm not asked to speak about the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I want to thank Minister Bondo for her excellent presentation, and it's interesting that many of the same statistics that I was going to refer to, she's already highlighted, so I think my remarks can be quite brief and quite to the point. This topic of the conference today is extremely timely, not just in Japan, but in the United States as well. Just this past weekend, in his radio address, President Obama highlighted the importance of making sure that the U.S. economy rewards the hard work of America's women with equal pay for equal work, recognizing that more women are their family's primary breadwinner than ever before. The President further underscored his belief that providing opportunity for working women and families is the right thing to do for our economy, because when women succeed, America succeeds. As women have made great strides in American society, we have attained more positions of leadership in the U.S. government. I would note that there are 6 members of the President's cabinet that are female, and many of his top advisors in the White House are also women. And my own agency, the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, has a long history of having very prominent female negotiators. Over my years of working at USTR, I've worked for 9 U.S. trade representatives, and 3 have been women. More broadly, in the federal government senior executive service in the United States, career government employees who serve in key positions just below top presidential appointees, women now represent about 1/3 of all of these employees, a figure that has been steadily growing. And as everyone in the audience knows, for the first time ever, the United States is being represented in Japan by a female ambassador, Ambassador Kennedy. But what many of you may not realize is that other senior positions in our embassy in Tokyo are also filled by women now. Both the current Minister Counselor for Economic and Science Affairs, as well as the Minister Counselor for Political Affairs, are women and are accomplished career Foreign Service officers. So the representation of women in the U.S. government in important jobs is evident and is growing, but it is still a work in progress and we can do more. Now, turning to Japan, clearly a strong, vibrant, and growing Japanese economy is of critical interest to the United States. Japan is both a driver of global economic growth around the world and a partner of the United States in promoting economic integration in the Asia-Pacific region. Our economies are closely linked and benefit from each other's success. So naturally, we are vested in Japan's future prosperity, and in many, many ways, Japan's women hold the key. Japan has enormous demographic challenges, a declining birth rate, increases in the elderly population, and comparatively low numbers of immigrants. These demographic issues point to a future where Japan would be well served to dramatically increase the economic opportunities for women in order to succeed in its goal of unlocking greater growth. We commend the Prime Minister for recognizing this as an issue and for his administration's decision to make empowering women in the workplace a key part of his broader agenda. It will be a long haul, and there's clearly work cut out for Japan. As Minister Bando's slide showed, Japan's participation of women in society is low by international standards. The good news there is there's a lot of room for growth. And we note that in the first 10 months of the Prime Minister's administration, the Prime Minister has promoted a number of women. I have a total of 28 women in my notes that have been promoted to senior level positions in the Japanese central government. These are important strides, but accomplishing broader change will also require societal changes across Japan. Now, as a trade negotiator, I have seen firsthand the unique skills that are needed to be successful. 1, you need to be a good listener. 2, you need to know how to problem solve. 3, you need to be able to put yourselves in your opponent's shoes. 4, you need to be patient. And 5, you need to be good at working through the divergent positions within your own government to develop a consensus view. And without any criticism of my male counterparts in Japan, I believe that women could bring a lot to the negotiating table on all of these fronts. But nevertheless, I have noticed how few women there are on Japanese trade delegations, particularly at senior levels. That's not to say that there are none, there are just a few. And the few I have seen and the few women I have worked with as my counterparts, I have enormous respect for. I can only imagine the challenges that they must have faced as they have gone higher up in their organizations. I believe that if the path to attaining these positions were made easier for Japanese women, the country would benefit from it. So how can Japan make the needed changes to allow more women to remain in the workforce and to become senior players in the workforce? Having made Womenomics a major part of his domestic agenda, the Prime Minister has implemented a clear top-down policy for change. But top-down policies can only go so far. Top-down policies alone cannot make this change happen. The solution is way more complex than that. Accompanying this approach from leadership, public and private organizations in Japan need to be aware of their own biases that shape their thinking and decision-making. Leaders need to be open to new perspectives and develop strategies from the most diverse talent pool. I see 4 elements that can help Japan achieve this goal. First, new attitudes should be cultivated in the workplace. A mindset that embraces equality and is open to change, recognizing the important role that women can play. Second, women's continued participation in the workforce can be facilitated by implementing programs for child care benefits and more flexible work policies, allowing for a better work-life balance. And let me just make one comment here on the work-life balance, and that is that you never really achieve that balance. You get better at achieving it, but you never do achieve the balance. Not a day goes by in my career when I don't feel that I've either let my child down or my boss down or my colleagues down. Third, more mentoring by women leaders is an important step we can all take to help advance women in government and the private sector, both in the United States as well as in Japan. Many women here are senior, and we try, I know many of us here, to be good role models and in our spare time to help mentor young women. And I think that's extremely important. And in that regard, I do note that under the Tomodachi initiative between the embassy, this MetLife Women's Leadership Program has been established. And I'm so glad to see so many young, emerging Japanese female leaders in the audience. And fourth, I would say that the workplace and our schools can do a better job in preparing both young women and men for the skills needed to become leaders in government and society. And fifth, I think Japan could help this, could make strides in this area by shortening its workday and allowing its employees to get home earlier. Not a day goes by or a week goes by when I don't speak to one of my Japanese counterparts. They're still at the office and it's midnight. Go home. In conclusion, I'm hopeful that today's conference will not be merely a one-time event, but instead act as an important catalyst for ongoing work on this issue. We should have many more opportunities for exchanges between U.S. and Japanese women at all levels in order to share our experiences, discuss obstacles to our success, discuss strategies to overcome these obstacles, what works and what hasn't worked, and successful ways to afford women more meaningful and rewarding participation in the workforce. Thank you very much.